Across war zones and broken borders, echoes of truth still break through. This is Global Echo.
On March 27, 1977, a thick, suffocating fog descended on Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife, reducing visibility to near zero. Two Boeing 747s, Pan Am Flight 1736, and KLM Flight 4805, sat on the crowded runway, both diverted from their original destination by a terrorist threat. The airport, never meant for such giants, was overwhelmed, its single runway and basic equipment pushed to the limit. In the Pan Am cockpit, Captain Grubbs and his crew grew anxious as the fog worsened, while KLM's Captain Van Zanten was equally eager to depart. Passengers, mostly holidaymakers, remained unaware of the tension building outside. The control tower, lacking ground radar, was nearly blind, relying on radio and what little they could see through the fogged windows. Controllers juggled far more traffic than the airport was designed for, their stress mounting with every minute. The stage was set for disaster, not by one catastrophic error but by a series of small compounding missteps. Two massive jets, invisible to each other, waited on the same strip of tarmac, caught in a web of confusion. In the thickening fog, every instruction and every decision would soon become a matter of life and death. Both flights began their day routinely bound for Gran Canaria Airport, the main hub of the Canary Islands. A bomb threat forced authorities to close Gran Canaria, diverting all incoming flights to the much smaller Los Rodeos Airport. Suddenly, Los Rodeos was overwhelmed, its taxiways and aprons clogged with wide-body jets, including the two 747s. With the main taxiway blocked, departing aircraft had to taxi down the active runway, turn around, and take off in the opposite direction. A risky, complex procedure. Crews and passengers endured long, frustrating waits on the tarmac, their patience wearing thin. The Pan Am crew, nearing their duty limits, were desperate to get moving. KLM's Captain Van Zanten faced pressure to keep his flight on schedule. This subtle urgency, get-home-itis, would become a key factor in the tragedy. The small airport became a pressure cooker of tired crews, impatient passengers, and overwhelmed controllers. Every minute of delay increased the strain on everyone involved. The seeds of disaster were quietly taking root. Los Rodeos, perched on a fog-prone plateau, was ill-equipped for the sudden influx of large jets. As the fog rolled in, the control tower lost all visual contact with the runway, relying solely on radio. The airport lacked ground radar and its runway lights were out of service. Taxiway signage was small and nearly impossible to read from a 747 cockpit in poor weather. The Pan Am crew, unfamiliar with the airport, struggled to identify their assigned exit, a confusion that would prove critical. The two 747s, parked nose to tail, blocked each other and other planes, complicating departures. When Gran Canaria reopened, the KLM jet had to depart first, with Pan Am instructed to follow and exit the runway at taxiway C3. In the dense fog, every instruction became a potential point of failure. With Las Palmas reopened, KLM's Captain Van Zanten decided to refuel in Tenerife, adding a delay and extra fuel weight. This decision kept both 747s on the ground just long enough for the fog to become impenetrable. The Pan Am crew, blocked in, grew restless, even considering risky maneuvers to get moving. Once refueling finished, KLM was cleared to taxi down the runway and hold for takeoff. Pan Am was told to follow and exit at C3. But the Pan Am crew found the C3 exit too sharp for a jumbo jet and aimed for C4 instead. In the fog, identifying exits was nearly impossible. The Pan Am jet remained on the runway longer than expected. The American 747, lost in the mist, was now directly in the path of the departing KLM. A series of small, understandable errors had set the two giants on a collision course. Disaster was now only moments away. The final fatal errors came through confused radio communication. All parties, Tower, KLM, and Pan Am, shared the same frequency, but simultaneous transmissions caused interference, masking critical warnings. As KLM completed its turn for takeoff, co-pilot Muirs requested clearance. The controller issued routing instructions, not takeoff clearance. Muirs read back, adding, "We are now at takeoff," a non-standard phrase. Captain Van Zanten, misinterpreting this, pushed the throttles forward. "We're going!" The controller replied, "Okay, stand by for takeoff, I will call you." But the message overlapped with Pan Am's urgent warning. "We're still taxiing down the runway." The two transmissions jammed, creating a squeal. Neither crew heard the full warning. KLM believed the runway was clear and accelerated. Pan Am, still on the runway, was invisible in the fog. The final chance to avert disaster was lost in static. Suddenly, the Pan Am crew saw KLM's landing lights racing toward them through the fog. "There he is!" Bragg shouted as Grubbs tried desperately to turn off the runway. On the KLM flight deck, Muir spotted the Pan Am jet too late. Van Zanten yanked the controls, trying to lift off early. The KLM's nose cleared the Pan Am, but its engines and landing gear tore through the American jet's upper fuselage. The Dutch 747, crippled, crashed and exploded in a fireball. The Pan Am was engulfed in flames, its own fuel tanks ruptured by the impact. For KLM's 248 passengers and crew, death was instantaneous. On Pan Am, a handful survived the initial impact, scrambling to escape the inferno. In less than a second, the deadliest disaster in aviation history had unfolded. The aftermath was only beginning. Chaos reigned in the aftermath. Rescuers, blinded by fog, didn't realize two planes were involved. Minutes were lost before the full scale of the disaster became clear. 61 people from Pan Am survived, many badly injured. All 248 aboard KLM perished. The final death toll, 583. Investigations blamed KLM's captain for taking off without clear clearance, but also cited ambiguous communication and systemic failures. The disaster led to sweeping changes in aviation standardized radio phraseology, mandatory readbacks, and strict use of the word takeoff. Crew resource management training was overhauled, empowering all crew to speak up about safety concerns. Ground radar became standard at major airports, and signage and lighting were improved worldwide. The Tenerife disaster became a turning point, its lessons etched into every cockpit and control tower. From tragedy came a new era of safety. The fog of Tenerife claimed 583 lives, but its legacy has saved countless more. The world of aviation would never be the same.
Want more stories that echo across the world? Subscribe to Global Echo and never miss the truth.